recently, there's been a brouhaha brewing on YouTube as content creators, led by nostalgia critics Doug Walker, have started asking why the movie studios and other copyright holders are getting to run rampant over legal fair use, especially for channels that do movie reviews and the like. Of course, this isn't limited to Hollywood. There are a number of channels that I watch regularly that get takedown notices and get their videos restricted to 15 minutes, etc. And even though the content creators do file appeals and do almost always win those appeals, that doesn't stop the complaints from coming. But while I understand and sympathize with the frustration of content creators who are really doing nothing at all wrong, the more I watch this movement unfold, the more it becomes clear to me that despite their best intentions, they really don't understand the problem. Therefore, I wanted to take a few minutes and explain why this movement really isn't going to go anywhere, and why I think a lot of these content creators simply have some pretty bad expectations. First though, let me get into a little background. YouTube was founded in 2005 by 3 former PayPal employees, Stephen Chen, Chad Hurley, and Jawed Karim. It was an immediate hit and was bought out a year and a half later by Google for $1.65 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. It has operated ever since as a subsidiary of the Google family of companies. One of the problems that YouTube immediately had was copyright infringement. Users were uploading content that they had no legal right to upload, and YouTube was immediately inundated with legal threats. It should come as no surprise that YouTube, which is required to follow the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1996 and remove all of these offending videos or lose their protections under the safe harbor provisions of the DMCA, got completely buried under takedown notices. To combat this problem, YouTube created Content ID, a wholly automated system that would scan uploaded videos for movies, TV shows, music, and other copyrighted content and alert the copyright holders, or depending on how these copyright holders had set up their Content ID accounts, simply not allow the potentially offending material to be published in the first place. Now, this potentially comes into conflict with fair use. Fair use was codified into American copyright law in 1947 in Title 17 of the United States Code. It was further modified in the Copyright Act of 1976. It allows, at least for the context of this discussion, for content creators to use part of, or even all of, a copyrighted work for the purposes of commentary, criticism, education, news reporting, etc. Content creators can do all of this without the permission of the copyright holders, and for the most part, this is where YouTube content creators are being wronged by the system. However, this is also where there are 2 problems that I don't think that content creators are really not understanding the issue. Let's start out with the most obvious. Content ID is a totally automated system. Humans do not look at the vast majority of claims for one simple reason. Humans cost money. The more people that YouTube has to hire to spend time on copyright claims, the less profit YouTube makes. If YouTube makes less profit, they're going to have to make it up somewhere. Currently, YouTube charges no one for anything. It doesn't charge content creators to upload videos, and it doesn't charge viewers to watch them. That doesn't mean that YouTube doesn't have a lot of expenses it has to cover. It has server space, it has bandwidth, it has a lot of costs that it needs to cover, and it does so through advertising revenue. That doesn't mean that said revenue is unlimited, and if YouTube has to literally hire tens of thousands of human beings to manually deal with all the DMCA claims, YouTube simply could not remain free to the creators and users. So content creators need to ask themselves if they'd stay if they had to pay $10 or $100 every time they wanted to upload a video to YouTube, and users need to consider whether they want to pay a couple bucks every time they want to watch somebody's cat. YouTube simply could not survive such a move, at least not in its current state. But you have to remember it's not only YouTube's Content ID that's totally automated, but the copyright systems of most major copyright holders as well. Some of them outsource their copyright enforcement, but for a lot of them, they have automated bots crawling across the internet looking for infringing content, and when they find it, they automatically send out takedown notices without any human interaction whatsoever. These companies send out tens of thousands of notices every single year, most of them without ever having a human lay eyes on it. So even if YouTube went to the added expense of manually handling all the notices, the copyright holders would still be sending out a torrent of notices. Even if you want these movie studios and TV studios and book publishers and all the rest to hire people to stare at the internet all day, that's tens of thousands of new employees, and those employees need to be paid, and that money has to come from somewhere. And realistically, the only place it can come from is increased costs. So if you want your movie ticket prices to go up, if you want your Blu-ray prices to go up, if you want your monthly cable bill to go up, then by all means, push for this system. But increased prices will just increase the incidence of piracy, and it won't solve the problems either, it's just going to shift it. So we really have to accept that there's nothing we can logically do about this automated content management system. These DMCA notices are going to fly no matter what anyone does about it. The only solution for an individual content creator, fair use or not, is to refrain from using any copyrighted material in their videos at all. You're never going to get a strike, and you're never going to get a claim if you never use any material that can get you a strike or a claim. That is, like it or not, the only real solution to the problem. It's the only way you can really be safe, at least until we develop advanced artificial intelligence computers that can actually watch all the videos and decide if it's fair use or not, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. But unfortunately, that's not the only problem that I see here. Sure, it's the mechanical problem, but it's not the one that gets talked about a lot. A lot of content creators that I've seen talking about this, they act like YouTube somehow owes them a living. They pretend that they're entitled to make money using YouTube systems. Like it or not, YouTube is not a public resource. It's a business, and as a business, its job is to make money for its shareholders. That is the point and purpose of every single business out there. It's to make a profit. And whether you like it or not, it isn't the content creators who are most directly responsible for making them a profit. It's the end users. Those are the people who click on the videos, who watch the ads, who make YouTube money day in and day out. Yeah, there have to be videos to watch, but you have to wonder if it's worth it to YouTube to deal with thousands and thousands and thousands of DMCA notices when they could just cater to people uploading DMCA-free cat videos. And sure, you can demand your right to free speech all you want. You absolutely have the right to speak freely. But what you don't have the right to do is demand that YouTube host your speech. They are a corporation that is responsible to their shareholders. They're not responsible to you, unless you're a shareholder, of course. You're just some guy in a room somewhere making videos. There is no requirement that YouTube host your content any more than McDonald's has to put up with somebody who jumps up on their counter and starts ranting to their customers. Any more than Walmart has to deal with somebody who wants to hold a free speech parade down their aisles. They don't owe you anything, and so many of these videos I've watched seem to think that they're entitled to use YouTube's resources to make a living because that's what they want to do. And that's completely and totally wrong. Every single user on YouTube, or any website for that matter, agrees to follow the site's acceptable use policy. They can put anything into that policy they want, limited only by the law. If tomorrow YouTube decided to change their AUP and ban all videos with any copyrighted content whatsoever from being uploaded to YouTube, they could do that, and there isn't a damn thing you could do about it. Their company, their resources, their rules. They don't owe you anything except as required by contract. If they decide that effective next Monday, they're going to put ads on every single video on the site, and they're not going to pay a single penny for ad revenue to content creators, and anybody who doesn't like it is welcome to take down their videos, well, you're pretty much screwed. There's very little you can do about it. It's like a business that is selling their products through Walmart, and Walmart decides to stop selling them. What are they going to do? Sue Walmart because they're stopping you from making a living? Well, they don't owe you anything, and neither does YouTube. Which is why I get so mad when I see people who seem to want YouTube to fight their battles for them. They want YouTube to go to war with Hollywood. Why would YouTube do that? They demand rights from YouTube. Well, you have no rights. YouTube's responsibility is not to you. Stop pretending that it is. If you want to do something, instead of shaking your fist in the air and demanding something from YouTube, why not approach YouTube as a collective and offer to work with them? Find a solution that doesn't cost YouTube money, that doesn't open them to legal litigation, that doesn't make you look like a bunch of entitled children. Most of these content creators are entirely correct about their fair use. Their battlefield, however, is not making YouTube videos demanding rights. It is in the courts, and they're unwilling, or let's be honest, incapable of taking these companies that are abusing the DMCA to court and forcing them to stop. And I admit it's really expensive and time-consuming to do that, but demanding that YouTube fight on your behalf? That's not really your other alternative. They don't owe you anything. They don't work for you. You need to understand your position in all of this. So what are your other alternatives if you don't like YouTube's Content ID? Well, you can pick up your videos and find another company that does things the way you like. You're probably not going to find one, though, because every single one of them is in the same position YouTube is. They have to address all copyright complaints in a timely manner or face losing their DMCA safe harbor protections, and that opens them to direct legal responsibility for the content that is uploaded to their site. You can also start your own site where you get to make your own rules. Maybe. Whatever servers that you're using, they're going to have their own acceptable use policy and probably have the same kind of rules against piracy because they face the same kind of legal challenges if they don't. You can also buy your own servers, but whoever you get your bandwidth from, they're going to have rules too. You're never going to get the same low cost of entry and widespread accessibility that you have with YouTube. Be thankful that you have a service like it, and don't piss in the pool. Understand that even though you have rights, and undoubtedly you do, your rights don't come from YouTube, and you can't look to YouTube to defend them, especially for free. Your rights come from the courts, and that's where you have to go to get them defended. If you can't, or choose not to go there, that's your problem, not YouTube's. Now, I'm a YouTube content creator too. I'm a very small fish in a very large pond, but I have the exact same problems that the big boys do. I've gotten my fair share of takedown notices, I've gotten my fair share of DMCA claims, and I have fought every single one, and I have won every single one. Most content creators do the same thing. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's time-consuming, but it is a cost of doing business the way they've chosen to structure their business. And remember, this is a choice. You choose to use copyrighted material in your videos. You chose that. As a consequence of that choice, even if what you're doing is entirely legal, you knowingly open yourself to these copyright claims. You may wish that the system was different, but it's not. It is the way that it is. And the way to change the system is not through making YouTube videos complaining about it, it's through the courts. That's how we change laws in this country. And I completely agree that a lot of these copyright holders are using the DMCA takedown system as harassment. I'm completely on your side. But telling YouTube about it isn't going to change the laws. It isn't going to create legal consequences for harassing behavior. That's something you have to go to the courts to get. So you can either deal with the system as it currently exists. That doesn't mean you have to like it. That doesn't mean you can't complain about it. You can either deal with it or you can try to get it changed through the systems currently in place to do so. Those are the choices. YouTube has neither the responsibility nor the legal ability to change anything. Their responsibility is to their shareholders. Their job is to make money and pay dividends. If you want to buy a controlling interest in Google, they'll listen to you. Until then, they don't have to. There's fair and there's true. Fair is nice when you can get it. Fair is something worth fighting for. But nobody owes you fair. They owe you true. People need to learn to tell the difference between the two. Thanks for listening to my long rant. I know it isn't what a lot of people want to hear, but it is what's actually so. What do you think? Please comment below and let's have a discussion. And to Doug Walker and the rest of the YouTube creator community who think strongly about this issue, I agree with you. Fair use isn't respected as it should be. You're doing nothing wrong and you shouldn't be penalized for it. But under the current legal system, that's how it is. Petitioning YouTube to change things isn't going to change anything. They're just as restricted by the law as you are. Google can't just call up the U.S. federal courts and demand things change, and even if they could, they have no reason to do so. The only way to get things changed, like it or not, is to take it through the entire court system, probably up to the Supreme Court, and that's going to take years of someone's life and millions of dollars. That's how the system works, like it or not. The best we can do as content creators is to make a decision how we're going to deal with the system as it actually is, not as we wish it was. Idealism is fine, but it doesn't replace reality.